Don, welcome to Spectrum of Hurdles. So glad that you'd be able to join us here,
Thank
to
you so
talk about,
much.
your mission. And, yeah, of course. And to talk about your journey, your mission and, what, you have, in store for the world.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I run an organization called Autism Anglers. Started it
Mhm.
almost 6 years ago. My now 11-year-old found out he was on the spectrum, and I honestly I knew nothing about autism. So as I was doing a deep dive into it, I started telling my friends and coworkers who are all anglers about it, and they seemed interested. So I just kind of rolled with it and rolled my passion and what I was learning all into one thing.
That's a wonderful
Awesome. Well,
thing.
that's nice. It
Yeah.
is.
I have a question about that. Now, being on the spectrum, one thing I've noticed we have sometimes issues with is patience,
Yes.
and anglers are all about patience. Have you found any issues teaching an autistic person how to fish, how to be patient while fishing?
So it really depends because I mean, as being a spectrum, it really varies on the likes, dislikes, the passions. Really, I got kind of got the idea to do this working with vets with PTSD, and I could see that it was therapy. It does work most of the time. Some of the biggest hurdles to get over are finding some place with a lot of activity because that's exactly what's needed when you're teaching small children or anybody with any kind of learning disability or focus, really any kind of focus issues, is finding a place where there's lots of action. And that's hard to do sometimes. And I tell people, if you've never taken your autistic angler out fishing before, you have to find that safety number one and action number two. So it doesn't matter if it's small bluegill or bait fish. As long as there's activity going on, that's what hooks them.
Action and fishing are like two separate things to a lot of people.
Definitely. I mean, you can sit out on the riverbank all day and not catch a thing, and that is definitely not how to introduce an autistic angler or somebody with autism into fishing. You definitely have to find that place where like a public park where people are feeding the fish and the turtles. Those fish are
Mhm.
really used to eating a lot, so they know when people are nearby that they're going to get fed. So those are great places to go because it has that activity.
Right, right. And it's very interesting. Uh, the thing that I do, is I don't know if you told you or not, but I meet celebrities, for, one of my jobs. And, the kind of industry that I'm in, it's very touch and go. Like, for example, you may not, get this person to take a picture with you. You may not, get this autograph, so it's like, 50-50 chance, to where you're waiting somewhere all day, then you get zilch, zero, from it. So just having that patience, can be hard to do sometimes, but if you just really stay, committed to something, I don't know what your methods are or what you try to convey, but just I think learning patience is a beautiful
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the hardest thing, for a lot of people on the spectrum, as you guys probably know, is learning the patience. So, in every angler that we talk with or take out, it's going to be different for everyone. So,
thing. Right.
if the focus is an issue and we can't find a place where we can get that action going, we'll do other things. Like if we need to bring a tablet or a book or something else, to keep them occupied in the meantime, that's what we'll do.
Mm.
So, but we definitely want it to be a positive experience all the way around. I've learned, working with my own son, that we've had a lot of negative experiences on the boats. When it's too hot. I mean, we just pick wrong days to do it, and it really, set us back. So.
Right.
And it's not just about the patience with the person with autism, but the patience of the person working with the person with autism also as well. It's both ways.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And most of us as anglers, we want to fish as well. And so I tell parents and caretakers, you are not fishing. Don't bring your own gear. Leave that aside. You are completely 100% focused on the autistic angler, and that's what you have to do. So,
Mhm.
and that's hard for a lot of people because you want to fish too. So it's one of those things. It's like, if you want to get them out there and see how this works, then you have to leave your gear at home.
Now, my father was a champion fly fisherman in
Awesome.
Connecticut. Um,
Mm.
However, I don't see many autistic people having the patience to start with fly fish. Is angling similar to riding a bike, where you start with a tricycle and then you go to the bicycle or whatever, or do they usually pick it up right away?
No, it definitely. I mean, it takes practice. I mean, even when I started, when I was just a little guy, could barely walk. It was finding those ponds with those small fish, and just a little piece of worm and going from there. Um, I'm still, I guess, a lazy fisherman. I like to go someplace where I can just, throw something out and sit there. Um, a lot of friends of mine, I mean, they do cast all day, like fly fishing. I mean, you're constantly casting. So,
Mhm.
again, depending on the angler, if you need repetitive motions, it may be taking them out bass fishing and giving them a lure that they can just keep casting over and over, or fly fishing because you're constantly doing something. So again, it
Right.
depends. It really, and it's not just autistic anglers; it's every angler. I don't have. I think fly fishing is too much work. So, I don't want to be casting all day long. But if somebody needs that, then that's what we're going to focus on.
One quick question. You were similar in me into age. We didn't have technology when we were guys. We could throw a worm on a stick. What are your feelings of the 20th century, or 21st century, I should say, fishermen, of the ones who have all these electronic? Has sport been taken out of the sport of fishing?
I don't think so. No, because I mean, you still have to, there's a lot more than just electronics. Of course, it does help. If you can catch more fish, great. But as far as the sport, I mean, that's one of those things. I mean, I've got a kayak and I've got a 7-inch graph on the kayak, so I've started using electronics. I mean, some of them get pretty wild. I mean, I've been on some bass boats where the guys have, two big screen TVs pretty much on the front and live
Wow.
scope and all that, and
Oh
they
wow.
they catch fish. So does it take the sport out of it? I don't think so because it still depends on water temperatures. It still depends on weather conditions to get the fish to bite. So and even
Hmm.
colors. I mean, fish are finicky about what colors you throw at them. So it makes it
Hmm.
easier. So if you consider that taking the sport out of it, then yes. But there's still a lot more involved.
Yeah. So question. So our company or our group, as you know, is called Hurdle. So what is some of the biggest hurdles, that you have had, throughout your entire time, doing this, that you have overcome or are still trying to overcome?
So the biggest hurdles that we are facing is, and it gets easier as we go, but the biggest hurdles is getting people to share our mission. It seems like more and more people are starting to understand because more and more people are seeing that, hey, I have a nephew that's on the spectrum, or my neighbor's kid is on the spectrum. So, I think
Hmm.
as we learn more about autism, more people are kind of getting it, and they're knowing, they're finally seeing that they know people on the spectrum and they have friends or whatever. So it's getting
Hmm.
easier in that respect because they're like, hey, this is cool. I love fishing. And yeah, my neighbor Billy is on the spectrum. This is kind of neat. So, but that's been the biggest thing is just sharing, getting people to share our missions. The more we can get that, the more people pay attention, and that helps us get the funding that we're looking for. We're a 501(c)(3) nonprofit, and we make no money. My wife and I run it full time. You met her at the event at UCF, but yeah,
Yes.
we're 100% funded by donors, by our fans. We don't get any grants. We don't do any of that. So everything we do is from the love of of our fans. So.
I have another question as well. I mean, you said something interesting. We talked about your neighbor Billy. What about your neighbor Susie? In other
Yeah,
words, the female aspect of it. In fishing,
absolutely.
growing up, you almost never saw a lady or whatever at a fishing hole. Has that changed in the last 40 years? Is there a
That
lot more?
Yeah, definitely. That's changed a lot. I mean, there are so many lady anglers out there. There's actually quite a few companies that are geared towards outfitting women. There's women in
Hmm.
professional bass fishing. I mean, it's incredible. I know some lady anglers that will outfish me, with their hands behind their backs and blindfolded. So I actually helped design and helped work with a company called Girls Fish Better. They have fishing rods and apparel, and I mean it's all about the ladies fishing. So um, definitely a lot of women out there fishing.
'Cause I know in general the autism community is mostly male.
Yes,
I guess by statistics, I think they said like 70% or 80% of autistic people are male. I don't know if I'm exactly right on that, but
yeah,
finding something for
right
them,
around there. Yep.
yeah. Um, how hard has it been for you to find either sponsorship or people to get your word out for you as well? And how can you tell others to help get their word out to other people?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that's always tough to find sponsorships, and I mean we haven't actively, like I said, we've only been doing this for 5 years, and most of that through COVID. So it's it was kind of tough to go out and ask companies, say, hey, this is what we're doing. It's like everybody's struggling a little bit. So that's kind of been on the back burner. We've had some great companies reach out to us and want to do more. One of them that comes to mind is Six Gill Fishing. They're a huge rod and reel company located in Texas. And for the last couple of
Hmm.
years, we've actually done a special edition Autism Anglers fishing reel and fishing rod. So they've reached out to us, and we get a portion of the proceeds. Other local companies doing the same thing. But what I found is, if you're looking for sponsorships, number one, reach out to your fans because they probably know somebody. Number two, you just got to do it. You just got to reach out and ask. You're going to hear no 95% of the time, but that's that 5% that say yes, it's really going to bless you. So,
Hmm.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you right now, you have a sponsorship not by financial, but by word from us as
uh,
Hurdle. Like I'll tell you right now, we will
Yes,
spread your word of your company to whoever wants to hear it because I think you're doing an amazing thing.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
absolutely.
Our biggest thing is not just spreading the awareness to anglers about what autism is all about, but we also have been blessed by our sponsors and our fans to be able to donate free fishing tackle, or give tackle. So in these 5 years, we've sent out like 5,000 pounds of free tackle all over North America. And that's
Wow,
where
nice.
all the funding is gone. That, and of course, I mean, we got to do other things like pay rent and things like that. But mostly all of it goes to the tackle. We buy tackle, we take donated tackle, and we ship it out. 2, 3 pounds of tackle to each angler. So we've been doing that. That's been our big passion project for sure.
Now, what's in the
Yeah.
near future for autism English?
Yeah, so in the future, we're looking at supplying more fishing trips, so not just tackle. We're working with guides all over the country to place, and that's one of the biggest things that I'm worried about is getting to know the guides and vetting them, making sure that they have the patience to work not only with the autistic angler but also their parent or caregiver. So that process is a little tougher because I have to make sure that it's the good fit, but that's one of the things I'm working on is working with guides and placing families with them to go fishing, and we're taking care of all the expenses on that. So that's one of the biggest things that we're working on right now.
That's awesome. So can you try to explain a little more about that? Um, okay, so you're trying to like get other people like to travel, for this?
So we're looking for guides in different areas. So say if I have somebody that
Okay.
lives in Daytona, I try to find a guide or a charter captain in that area that I can hook them up with. So not only is the
Okay.
parent try to take them fishing, but now they have a boat that's completely geared up with all of the new bells and whistles. The guide knows the spot to catch the fish. So they're the professionals. They do this day in and day out. So if I can hook an angler up with a guide, does a couple things. It gets the angler out into good spots to fish, and it gives the guide a new outlook on autism. So I've had a couple guys tell me I had no idea what this was about, and that kid just touched my life, and he's like, I want to do more. So that's one of those things that's spreading the word on what we do, and who we're trying to help. So
Have you considered reaching out to the Outdoor Channel
I
to
have not.
actually?
I have not. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of that. I do have a gentleman we work with who Jim Crawley Outdoors. He's on all the different channels, Outdoor Network, or all the streaming channels. Been super great. He advertises us in every show that he does. I locally here, I'm starting to work with some of the local groups. The Florida Wildlife Commission. I'm working with them to try to get a good place where we can get a fishing derby going. So we're going to work with UCF and see if we can get 20 or 30 families out on the water with gear and volunteers to catch fish as well. So
Again, we'll try to help out with that as much as we can, whether it be working at your event or me to help people go out there. I'd be more than happy to help with that.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that's going to take a little bit of time and a lot of effort. But I would like to eventually see vendors. Have some vendors set up to talk about the different things and help out as well. So
That's another thing we'd love to do.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is my
Oh,
passion project. I've got a full-time job on top of it, and it's one of those things that the more time I know I can put into it, the bigger it becomes. So
Hmm.
that's awesome.
No,
And you're doing a great job.
thank you so much.
amazing job.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, I believe that's our interview for today. Do you have anything else, Shane?
Um, yes, quick question
Yeah.
about fishing. All right. Regular fishing in, like, a lake or a pond, versus ocean fishing. So what is the biggest difference in that? Because I've always been fascinated by the ocean, and if I was to ever go fishing, it'd probably be geared toward that route. But can you kind of elaborate on what the differences are, and like who can handle like ocean, or who can handle like lake or pond fishing?
Right. So the biggest difference is the gear needed and the boat needed, really. So now you can find oceanside stuff where you can fish off the bank or off a
Hmm.
bridge, different things like that. So definitely. Now you will
Right.
find that a lot of times the saltwater fishing is a little more activity than sometimes freshwater fishing because of
Mm.
the sheer amount of different types of fish. I do have one captain that helps us out. He'll take a kid out and just go and catch bait fish all day long. And I mean, you catch some pretty decent sized bait fish in the ocean. You just go out on a buoy and just catch, catch, catch until your arm is too tired to keep catching. So
Yeah. Now, I haven't been fishing since my father passed for early 2000. Is the stereotype of the fisherman still out there? The man who drinks on a who drinks beer or sit down all the time, or is it more accepting as to everyday man?
it's everyday man and woman, as we were talking about. But yeah, I mean that the beer belly, cigar smoking, drinking a Budweiser while they're fishing. Those days are gone. I mean, it is. It's become a
You,
really professional thing. I mean that those guys there's not very many of them out there anymore. There are still some in different areas of the U.S. and I'm sure the world, but
Mhm.
for most part, those guys are gone.
yep. As a former professional
Mm.
bowler, I had the same
Yeah,
stereotypical. This is now more of a white collar thing. Um,
absolutely,
but we, no matter what it is your hobby, whether it be fishing, whether it be photography, whether it be for me billiards, anything you do in life, have passion for it. If you're
absolutely.
autistic, if you're not autistic, anything you do, you're still a human being and you still have passions in life. And make sure you let everybody know that nothing really defines your passion more than just pure love.
For sure, for sure. One one
Yeah.
final one final
Exactly.
thing I want to say before we run out of time is I just want everybody to
Mhm.
check out our website, autismanglers.org. And if you Google Autism Anglers, you'll find us. We are on all social media and the website. I mean, that's the biggest place to reach out.
All right. Well, thank you
Awesome.
for being
Well,
with us
thank
today.
you. Yes, thank you. And for our listeners and our watchers out there, we're gonna attach Autism Anglers, website link down below, on the video. So please, check out, this great organization, and please spread the word.
And don't forget, like and subscribe. And basically, we have merch now available. If anybody interested in merch, with a link for that will be there as well.
Awesome.
Don, we want to thank you for being here today.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. It was nice meeting you guys, and great. Thank you for having me on. It's awesome.
Of course, anytime. All right. Bye, guys.